Thank you for introduction. You said almost everything what I wanted to say, so I'll just repeat it one more time. As Vilde, I will continue talking about water. You didn't finish your presentation about water, but I will jump into water for at least 20 minutes for now. So for those who are not familiar with the Lithuanian waterscapes, I could say that Lithuanian waterscape is characterized by approximately 4,500 lakes and 63,000 kilometers of rivers, occupying about 1.5% of country's territory and extending along 90 kilometers of the Baltic Sea coastline. For those from Scandinavian countries, it looks really small patch of Baltic Sea we do have in our country. But the majority of this landscape was shaped during the last glacier, particularly at its maximum extent. Features such as sandy coastline, dunes, Cronian spit, ravine and kettle lake, swampy areas, the Cronian lagoon and large, some small and swift-moving rivers define the region's diverse hydrological environment. While underwater ecology in Lithuania has been developing since the late 80s, during surveys of inland waters and the Baltic Sea, numerous artifacts and remains of underwater sites have been uncovered. Currently, the distribution of these sites is depicted in this map I'm showing you, which illustrates only those sites who are listed in the Register of Cultural Properties. The majority of these sites are shipwrecks located in the Lithuanian territorial waters of the Baltic Sea. A few sites you see in the eastern part of our country have been listed in the inland waters, including settlements, bridges, and burial grounds. In the broader context of all archaeological sites registered in Lithuania as immovable cultural properties, underwater sites constitutes only a relatively very small proportion. You will see it later by my colleague. She will show how many archaeological objects we do have in Lithuania. So this is a list. Just you see the, how do you call it? Illustration. So you see settlements, shipwrecks, ports, and some bridges. So that's all we have. That's all underwater ecological objects we do have in Lithuania, which are registered in our cultural properties. But this map shows much more potential in this case. So in the eastern region of Lithuania is characterized by the highest concentration of lakes and rivers, has been the focus of ecological surveys and the water ecological surveys since 80s. Over these years, surveys have been conducted covering approximately 100 lakes or river sections. Throughout this period, various methodologies, of course, have been employed and technical bases have been continuously updated, particularly through the integration of remote sensing techniques, which enable the surveying of larger areas within the shorter time frames. Multiple sources for these surveys also were used, with the local residents and recreational divers providing to be particularly valuable and successful sources of data. As a result, there are currently around 50 and a little bit more known underwater ecological sites in Lithuanian inland waters. These sites vary in type, as illustrated in this map. You see it's listed down there, and they date from a Mesolithic period till the beginning of the 20th century. This is a map from which was compiled in 2022, and it shows the Baltic Sea situation. As if you do remember the map before that, we see how many objects are protected by a state here in the Baltic Sea, and here we do have a situation about the known objects or possible objects of anthropogenic objects in the Baltic Sea in our exclusive economic zone. And this map is provided by Maritime Safety Administration, which makes survey every year, especially while doing the bathymetric surveys of the Baltic Sea bottom. So many of these dots are still waiting for their identification, research, and assessment by cultural heritage specialists and archaeologists. As I mentioned briefly earlier, these are the pictures and the types of the underwater archaeological objects we have in the Lithuanian Sea, Baltic Sea, lakes, and rivers. Some are already listed, as I mentioned, in a register of cultural properties, but majority of these objects relate to the water transportation, including shipwrecks, boats, and logboats. Additionally, submerged settlements, whether fully or partially underwater, include lake dwellings and island settlements. There are also stationary fishing sites in rivers, fish weirs, as well as burial grounds, isolated human remains, and remains of the bridges. In the context of the climate change, it is crucial to emphasize the materials constituting these sites. Primarily, it is organic materials such as wood, as well as some of the metal objects are also known from our waters. Many of these sites are situated at the depths ranging from 1.5 till 15 meters, with some located in a coastal zone. And in deeper parts of the Baltic Sea, shipwrecks and other objects can be found in a depth reaching up to 40 meters. The extent of research conducted in these sites varies significantly. Some have been thoroughly excavated, yielding detailed information, while others remain relatively unexplored, with only preliminary data regarding their dating, specific, or potential spatial distribution is known. Talking about underwater cultural heritage, so the primary international framework for the protection of underwater ecological heritage implemented through Lithuanian law is the UNESCO Convention on the Protection of the Underwater Cultural Heritage, which was made in 2001. The importance of joining this convention was already emphasized in 2003 by all the Baltic states, but till now only Lithuania and Estonia ratified this convention, 2001 convention. So Latvia is still delaying the ratification. And there are main documents which are involved now in a Lithuanian, like a national law concerning cultural heritage, underwater cultural heritage. So this operational guidelines, which were translated into Lithuanian language, and also according to following the rules of this 2001 convention, methodology for protection of the objects registered as immovable cultural properties was prepared and accepted in 2020. So why I am mentioning this document, the last one, this methodology, it's important because of the one thing. If we are jumping a little bit further concerning the monitoring of the underwater sites. So in this case, when the recreational divers want to visit protected underwater cultural heritage object, just to see it, we need to get a permission. And after getting this permission, we have to come back with a report where all they should provide photos and describe a physical appearance of that underwater site. So this information, if it's going to happen much more often, we do not have so many of these cases yet, but in monitoring the climate change and underwater cultural heritage, this thing can serve getting more information while seeing what is changing and how it's rapidly changing. And one more thing also, which is really important to mention, is that the significance of this UNESCO 2001 convention is seen in this slide, how it involved archaeologists and officers from a cultural heritage to pay more attention to the underwater cultural heritage. We see here that before the ratification of the 2001 convention, we had only 5 sites which were registered as immovable cultural properties. So after 2009, when this Lithuania ratified this convention, the number tripled. It's not a big number, but still, if you count it, it's much more than 3 times. We have now objects protected from underwater. And you see the different types of it, of the sites which are protected now. Well, I'm really running out of time, but shortly I just wanted to show you how we know what's happening in a Baltic Sea, in our region, with concerning the climate change. So we do not have so much data from Lithuanian authorities, let's say. So this climate change in the Baltic Sea fact sheet, which was provided by Helsinki Commission or Baltic Marine Environment Protection Commission, shows a lot of facts which could be, which leads us to think about what can happen in our waters. So you see here and a lot of factors which were mentioned today many times, so it's nothing new. But here we're dealing with the water, so we have to take in account with the water temperature, storms, heavy wind, rivers run off, carbon uptakes, and sea ice sheet melting, and others. So also listing those parameters, direct parameters, this climate change in the Baltic Sea fact sheet also predicted what can happen in, for example, in 2100. So here we have also the listed indirect parameters which concern oxygens, microbiological communities, other processes who can affect underwater cultural heritage. I'm not going to show it to you, read it to you, but it can be really easily found online. And coming to the indirect parameters like human use, which is really also very important for the underwater cultural heritage, talking not only about the sea, also about inland waters, because sea also affects it. So here we see the offshore wind farms, which are going to be built more and more often, and the prediction is that it's going to be more of them because we will need energy from offshore farms, coastal protection with the eroding banks and shores, also shipping, fisheries, because of the melting ice. We have a longer period for the fisheries and the trawling, also marine litter, tourism, and all the other things who can affect the underwater cultural heritage. Here is the diagram prepared by Dr. Colin Breen, and it was presented this year in 2025 in UNESCO. It's called the UNESCO White Paper, Underwater Cultural Heritage, Climate Change, Adaptation and Mitigation. So I'm not going into details, but here with the third diagram, you see here the really frightful sentences like damage or loss, damage or loss, and damage or loss. So a lot of these things are damaging or can cause total loss of the underwater cultural heritage. I think you can, I hope you could read it, but it's a flooding, a droughts, storms, erosion, and all the other, of course, human activities. Also, Dr. Breen suggests some measures for adaptation and mitigation also, which also are known for every other cultural heritage, like planning, policy development, documentation, and so on. Talking about underwater ecology, I just put this slide just to show that it's not only damage or difficulties can occur on the remains of the underwater objects, but also the climate change also changes a little bit methodology or methods which could be used underwater. It's connected to water level rise. So we have, in some places, we have to, for example, diving, when the object now is deeper because of the risen water, we can spend less time underwater. For example, prospection doesn't work because of the bigger depth. Also, sediment modification because of the powerful storms can mix up the stratigraphy, which is crucial for example, for archaeological sites to understand the processes. Also, temperature rise is also affecting with the chemical changes. So we see a really important thing is eutrophication. A lot of other growth in the water and on the shores really affects the sites under it and also working conditions in the underwater archaeology. So you can see here visibility is crucial, and it's really makes big difference when you can see underwater and when you cannot make methodological excavation, for example. And also I would like to just say one more thing. It's about this shipworm, or called Teredo navalis, which can occur also in our northern shore because of the rising temperatures. This guy, this worm, likes more warmer, and it depends on the salinity, but the predictions is that it will not come to our waters, Lithuanian shore, for a while, but still it can happen. And this shipworm really destroys a lot of, and destroyed already a lot of, for example, wooden shipwrecks in the south and west Baltic Sea. So just some examples which I wanted to say, emphasizing that there are no research done on this theme, how climate change can, how we can see it in our cultural heritage underwater in Lithuania. So I just found few examples. So here we have a 2013 on the left picture, which shows a logboat quite nicely preserved from a Bronze Age in a river, and just after 5 years apart in 2018, we see just a small piece of it left because of erosion and a rapid speed of the small rivers because of the storms and the bigger precipitation, bigger rains. Down we also have a wooden shipwreck. It's in Kaunas near Aleksotas Bridge. It's not listed in a cultural register of the cultural properties, but we have changing situation. So in 1 year, this shipwreck is exposed to the sun, it's out of the water. Next year, he's underwater, it is underwater, and so on and so on. So all these changes really affect, because it's a wooden shipwreck, and we need to solve this kind of problem somehow, or just let's begin talking about them for a while. So this is a picture also showing an example about a visibility change. It's due to eutrophication. So this is a remains of a Middle Ages ship bridge in Plateliai Lake. We see a photo from 2011, and intentionally I left this photo from 2025 blank because it could not be done because of the visibility. And the divers who died there, I asked them for a picture, and they said we didn't take it because, well, you cannot see too much. So it's not accident, it's just left blank in purpose. Another big problem, or a thing, or a action we see connected with the underwater ecological objects in our region, in Lithuanian territory. So this is shipwrecks which are in a contact zone on a seashore, which can be washed out during big storms, or they can be uncovered from a sand due to water level change, bank erosions, shore erosions, or also big storms. So this is a sad story of some of the shipwrecks, and some of them, this one example from bottom, it was brought to the Lithuanian Sea Museum, the things which were left, the planks which were left from it, because it was such a big change, and only a few documentation could be made for this shipwreck. But anyway, it's saved for other scientific research. But anyway, you can see the problem here, especially in a contact zone in our sandy shores of the Baltic Sea. I have 20 seconds, but shortly, I just want to pay attention not only about the heritage which is underwater, but also to the wetland sites, which are also very, very important for our knowledge about prehistory. And here's an example of a human use and construction things, in construction action in these sites. So it's this wetland settlement is a very big one, Šventoji settlement, which has many, many sites which are preserved in wetland conditions. So we have it from a Stone Age till the Bronze Age. And as you see here in the picture, the most material from those sites are organic ones. So changing water level and also the human impact on it. Here in this orthophoto, I don't know if you do see it, but so this is just a building construction here, and in 20 years you see that all the middle part of this protected zone is full of houses, and all this construction, they interrupt the regime of the water. So these remains, wooden remains or organic artifacts can be in danger, but the thing is, we do not make any research on that. We do not measure levels of the wetlands. And it is really, really important to take into account and to start thinking about it while we do have what to think. So, and some of the discussion conclusions I would like to draw, but all the known facts about the climate change in the Baltic region and the Baltic Sea and the resulting predictions draw attention to the issue of the underwater cultural heritage. The current actions related to accessing the impact of climate change on underwater heritage in Lithuania are based on international commitments, conventions, and the experiences of the foreign countries. The current data indicates that in the absence of extensive research, the most significant impact on underwater cultural heritage objects located in the coastal zone is caused by continuously changing water levels and erosion. The inland waters are experiencing eutrophication and sudden water level fluctuations, which significantly alter water visibility and complicate research and exploration efforts. Additionally, there is observable change in the coastline and the bottom of the water bodies. An important factor, in my opinion, is enlisting of known underwater heritage objects into the register of cultural property, along with a systematic survey and documentation of underwater heritage sites. And the most important steps aim at minimizing potential losses, monitoring, as it was mentioned many times before, comprehensive documentation and collection of maximum scientific data, and protection of underwater cultural heritage policy development. Thank you.